So the purpose of this video is I want to show you how to be a true 10 within your frame, and then how to impose that frame into your social interactions rather than being a 5 or a 4 or a 3 in somebody else's frame, and then you're somehow trying to fit into their frame, but you never actually make it over the hump. And the way that I'm going to crack into this for you is I'm going to describe what socializing used to look like for me at age 21, 22, 23, 24. And then I want to contrast that with how socializing has looked for me at age 41, 42, 43, 44. And what was the exact difference that you'd see in my social skills from when I was young to when I'm a lot older? How have things evolved for me? And what if I were to tell you that my social results now were orders of magnitude higher than they were in my early 20s, my later 20s, my 30s? It just gets better and better and better. And what if I was to make you a promise that if you actually listen to this advice, that you will see your social results increase and increase and increase for pretty much almost all of your life, although I'd suspect that at a certain age, you'd begin to see some attrition. But that age would be way, way, way higher than anything you ever imagined. You know, it could be 90 or 80 or something like that. And I'm not just gonna make a big claim, I'm gonna back this up, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I do it. So if you wanna learn how to be a 10 within your frame, and then how to impose that frame rather than being a 5 or a 6 or a 4 in somebody else's frame, this is gonna show you the exact way to do it. This is gonna be a video that also shows you why your looks and money do not matter at all as far as meeting new people. And I will show you exactly how to do it and why you're failing. Now, if you like this kind of information, I'm gonna keep this very, very quick, then what I'd also urge you to do is to get into a free event and make this the year that you get into a free event, because I'm going into a podcast format soon. And as you know, to do a podcast, you can't be gallivanting around the country doing free seminars. So if you want to catch a free seminar where I'm going to show you how to make a lot of money, where I'm going to show you how to get crazy, insane OG social skills, and where I show you how to get spiritually tapped in, go to www.selfhelpfreetour.com. Okay, you're actually seeing that right here. Okay, we normally put that on the page. Right here, www.selfhelpfreetour.com. It's going to be in the link. And you'll see coming up this week, actually tomorrow, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I have one here in Los Angeles. That one's going to be 3 full days. It's going to be massive. I'm going to do day 1 in a big fat conference room, and days 2 and 3 I'm going to do up at my crib in the Hollywood Hills. So if you actually want to come visit me, right up here in the Hollywood Hills, this exact setup that you see will be loaded up with chairs. There'll be people upstairs. There'll be people all around. I can fit a couple hundred people up here. So if you want to come up here to my home, I'm inviting you into my home this weekend. Day 1 will be at a conference room. Day 2 and 3 will be here. That's this upcoming weekend here in LA. Selfhelpfreetour.com. LA. Next up will be Phoenix, Vegas, San Diego, San Francisco, Miami, Orlando's in there, Seattle, Portland. There's a bunch of different events coming up. This will be my final year touring, so make sure that you make it out to one of the events, and make sure that you fly in to one of the 2 or 3 day events. I sometimes do quick one-off events of about a day. I wouldn't fly in for that. I would just drive in if you're within a 5 or 6 hour drive, but otherwise make sure that you fly in. I'd recommend that you fly in this weekend. Also, definitely fly in, but if you'd like the very best core lessons of the free tour right now today, what I did was I laid them out in a program called higherpurposeprogram.com. That is a full free product. That is a product quality link right there, okay? So what you get in a product that would typically be about $500 or $600 is right there in Higher Purpose Program. That program has my very, very best content on personal growth, how to make a lot of cash, how to get very, very good socially. That's all right in there in Higher Purpose Program. It's a real program. Put me to the test on this. Click the link, hop inside the program. It's laid out, it's step-by-step, it's practical, it's implementable, it's very pragmatic, it's laid out and very, very organized. Incredible program. It's long, it's big, piles of information. Higher Purpose Program. Hop in there right now. We're probably not going to be keeping up that free program forever, so I'd recommend that you get in there now, okay? Why am I not going to keep that up forever? Because in the future, I'm just going to sell things like this. So if you actually want to get it now, you want to save yourself $500-600, get in Higher Purpose Program. But by the way, the touring, that's like a $5,000 program. If you actually want to know my philosophy behind the free tour, what I said to myself was, how can I take other gurus' 5K programs and just make it free? So make sure that you get out to the free event, www.selfhelpfreetour.com. Okay, make sure that you do that stat, and then make sure that you get inside Higher Purpose Program right now, because as soon as you do that right now, you can start learning very practical stuff. A lot of these rants that I go on, people are like, you go on these rants, I go on rants because the step-by-step practical stuff is inside Higher Purpose program. So the rants are meant to expand on the exact core lessons that you'll get inside a Higher Purpose program. So make sure that you get in there and make sure that you actually watch it. I'm also looking forward to meeting you in person at Self-Help Free Tour. Okay, so let's go into the step-by-step of how to become a 10 within your own frame. Okay, so here's a couple things I'm going to explain to you. So I've got a lot of buddies that put on parties here in LA. And these are friends of mine that absolutely smash it. These are guys who get results that would be like a cartoon compared to what your version of social results are, okay? So these are the kind of guys where what you would view as normal, they don't exist within that reality, okay? So I get a lot of different tips from different guys around LA that are natural friends of mine, and the results they get are just totally insane. They give me a lot of good ideas. I give them good ideas. So one of my buddies who I love dearly, really good friend of mine, he said, Owen, you know, I think that your results will go up when you get back into shape. And if you get back in shape, you're going to definitely have a lot better attraction and things are going to go better for you. And I said, listen, and me and him were hiking that day too. So very good tip from him, trying to encourage me to be healthier, okay? Get in shape for your health. But what I said to him, and I didn't fully explain it because I'm going to go on a long rant here. I don't talk a long rants when I'm out. But what I sort of alluded to and what I'm going to explain to you here is the reason why for somebody like me, getting in shape is not going to change my results. And probably for you too, and I'm going to explain why. You have to understand that my buddy's a naturally very good looking guy. And so he can play that lane of a pretty boy. So that can be a lane for him. That's a real lane. If you go look at his Instagram, he kind of looks like a male model. If somebody like me goes and let's say that I go on a full, paleo diet or whatever it would be, train, get super cut, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't matter what I do. I will never actually fit into the pretty boy niche. That's not going to be my niche. So the only purpose for me to get fit is because if I lose weight, it means that I'm going to avoid things like a heart attack. It's better on my knees. It means that I could have more stamina for seminars. It means that I could have the personal pride that I'm in good shape. There's a lot of benefits to getting healthy, including extending your life. Lots of very important reasons other than social for getting into really good shape. But what I would tell you is if you're not somebody who's likely to either make money by being in shape or to actually be a full-on pretty boy, then at best, getting in better shape could broaden your niche to some extent in the sense that you look a little better for sure. That's really good, but it's not likely to get you over the hump. And so you have to hit a point of understanding where you realize I'm not going to get over the hump by getting in shape because that's not the genetics that I have. If you are somebody like my friend Greg O'Gallagher, for example, Kino Body. Greg is a full-on pretty boy. And I promise you, his social results just by posting on his Instagram are off the chains. It's super duper awesome. But Greg is Greg. Are you Greg? Are you going to look like Greg? So if you're telling me that you're going to look like Greg and that's you and that's your lane, then I think that's a very smart thing to do would be, even take one of Greg's courses. I'm sure is probably off the chains. I've never done it clearly, right? But I'm sure it's off the chains and that's going to be your niche. And you're going to post your Instagram and it's going to increase your social results. I've consistently seen Greg killing it socially. So, I can vouch for Greg that it absolutely works what he's done. He even does entire programs like how to be good looking, all that kind of stuff. It's really amazing, super awesome. So from that standpoint, if that's going to be you, then that might be a lane that you're going to go with. But you have to understand that unless you're going to dominate in that lane, you're not going to be a full-on 10 in that lane. And I don't aim to optimize my time for any lane that I can't be the best within that lane. So if I can't be the best at it or one of the best, then I don't go for that lane. Okay, and I'm going to explain why in this because that might sound a bit controversial. So if you're kind of like, why is that? I'm going to explain a little bit why. Okay, now let me make another statement here that is also going to probably blow your mind. So show it, a video like that, like the back shot there. Go to the back shot. Okay, so I'm up here. I'm in a fat mansion in the Hollywood Hills. Avicii used to live here. Tiesto used to live here. The guy that ran EDC used to live here. I'm in a fat crib in the Hollywood Hills. So what you would probably be thinking, okay, right now, is you're probably thinking something along the lines of like, oh, you could use money to build your social results. You know what I'm saying, right? I'm wearing a $100,000-ish watch. I think these go for like maybe 80 something right now. As high as 120, depends which one you get. This is like worth tens of thousands of dollars in diamonds. It's a David Yurman bracelet. Like, so, I'm sitting here and you're thinking to yourself, oh, you're a multimillionaire. Can't you use the lane of money to be successful socially if you're a multimillionaire? You're not understanding it. My level of wealth in Los Angeles is garbage. I'm viewed as a broke person for Los Angeles, okay? I don't live in Bel Air. I live in the Hollywood Hills, which is like where artistic, hipster, super rich people live, but not billionaires. So whenever I'm doing a party at my house, you have to understand, the people that I'm inviting over here have been at parties of billionaires. They've been on yachts of billionaires. They've been on full-on private planes of billionaires. I have been doing parties since I'm 22 years old. When I was 22, I did parties in hotel rooms. I did parties at friends' houses. I did parties in studio apartments. I've always been doing parties. It would only make sense at age 44 that I could afford a half-decent crib after I worked like 16 hours a day for several decades, that I could at least give myself that kind of a gift. But even for me, it is literally impossible that if I try to use wealth in any way, shape, or form to impress anybody, I could not win in that lane. Let me be very, very clear. You have a $20,000 Rolex, nobody cares. There's Rolex watches that are worth $1 million. Nobody will be impressed with your $20,000 Rolex. You have a Lamborghini? Oh, you've got a Lambo? Lambo is garbage. That's not even a good car if you're playing in the lane of money. Look, you got to understand, if you're playing in the lane of money, there are paintings that you can buy. Like a painting that is worth more than this entire house. There's little pieces of jewelry that you can buy worth more than this entire house. Oh, you go spend $5,000 or so to get like a little mini yacht to cruise around in Miami South Beach. You think anybody's going to be impressed? The people that you're inviting onto that yacht that you got for $5,000 or $10,000 have been on bigger yachts. You're not going to win in that lane. You're going to fail and fail and fail and fail. Okay, let me give an example. So I run a low-level 8-figure business. So let's say right now that I said to you, the reason why you like me is I'm the most popular. I'm the most mainstream, and I have the biggest crowd. So I've done huge crowds of other people's seminar companies. My biggest crowd is around 1,000 people. That's about the biggest that I've ever self-generated from social media just using my own brand. Typical for me would be about 200 to 400. So if I say to you right now, oh, I finally have 1,000 people. I finally have 1,000. That's a pretty big crowd, right? 1,000 people. But if I try to impress you as a viewer right now by saying that I have 1,000-person crowd, does that impress you? You already know that Tony Robbins has a 20,000-person crowd. You've seen videos of people like Grant Cardone doing 10X seminars with an entire stadium. So if I think that I'm impressing you and that you're going to want to do business with me because of my 1,000-person crowd, it's a big deal to me that I got 1,000 people. That's pretty high for me, but that's not high for Grant Cardone. That's not high for Anthony Robbins. That's not high for a preacher like Billy Graham when he was alive, or Joel Osteen. So if I go to you right now and I say, oh, you should watch me because I have 1,000 people, so I'm so famous, you're like, that's not famous. Like, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's way more than the average person has, but that's why you're trying to impress me. If you like my stuff, it's because I'm off the wall, I'm very niche, I'm a little crazy, I speak in long form. There's all sorts of different reasons that you might like my content as opposed to Anthony Robbins, right? If you chose to watch this and you didn't watch Anthony Robbins today, then it wasn't because I had 1,000-person crowd. It was because of specific things within my niche or strong suits that I have that you find that you connect to, that you actually appreciate. And not everybody appreciates it, but you do. So if I try to impress you by saying I have a big crowd and I put all my optimization into getting bigger and bigger crowds, then what's going to happen is I'm going to fail with you, but I'm also not going to be Tony Robbins. Because the truth is, I'm not going to be Tony Robbins. I'm not going to have 80,000 people in a crowd. Okay? I'm not. Why is that? I'm not that guy. Now, when you hear that, and you'd hear me say, like in personal growth, if I say, I'm not going to be as jacked as Greg, and I'm not going to have as big of a crowd as Tony Robbins, in self-help, they go, that's a limiting belief. But they tell you that everything's a limiting belief in self-help because they're pandering you and they just want you to take the damn seminar. You should have healthy limiting beliefs. Healthy limiting beliefs is a recognition where you recognize what you are and you recognize what you're not. You recognize what you can do world class and you recognize what you can't. And so from that standpoint, you see what you can do well and you optimize for that to an extent, but you don't go overboard. Okay, so let me give you an example. I've been traveling for about 4 years. You might be aware of that. I've been on the road about 300 days-ish per year for about 4 years now. So I have a pot belly. I'm out of shape. I'm staying back in LA now. I'm not going to be doing a lot of free tours and stuff. I'm going to stay in LA. I'm going to do a podcast. So as a result of that, I've got a full-on gym in my garage, and I'll probably get back in pretty good shape in a year or two. Okay, fine. So what is my outlook towards getting in shape? Be to take some pressure off my knees. I have a torn left ACL. It would be to live a longer life. It would be to take some pressure off my heart. It would be for self-respect reasons, things like that. But I'm not thinking I'm going to compete with Brandon Carter or that I'm going to compete with Greg and that I'm going to start some kind of a fitness company and that I'm going to, that people that are attracted to them looking at their Instagram are going to choose me over them. I'm not going to be that guy. That's not going to be me. I'm not going to win in that lane. So as long as I'm playing that game, I'm playing their game and I'm always going to lose. I'm never going to win the game, okay? So I know that about myself. So knowing that about myself, that's not a limiting belief. Rather, that's an empowering belief because it's not about lowering myself or thinking bad of myself. It's about realizing that I have other strengths and trusting in God that I can find those other strengths and then 10xing and 100xing and 1000xing on those in order to get the best result possible, okay? So as long as you're playing somebody else's game, you're playing a losing game. And there's a subtle approval-seeking element to that. So wouldn't we all like to just be super duper jacked and to be billionaires, right? Every single one of us watching this would like that. But what is the main reason that we'd like to be crazy jacked and billionaires? I mean, look, obviously there's some practical reasons that we'd want that. I get that, right? But what are some reasons that we'd want to be that beyond the pragmatic reasons that could be cool? We want it because we don't want to have to think. It's like the lazy version of being a 10. It's like somebody who goes to the Gucci store and just gets the Gucci graphic tee. You know what I mean, right? Or gets just like the typical Rolex watch with no thought put into it. It's the person who gets the generic Lambo. The person who just watches Dancing with the Stars or watches America's Best Singer or whatever, those shows like the X Factor and The Voice and all that kind of stuff, right? It's there's no actual thought put into it. There's no uniqueness. There's no exertion of brain power to be a little bit creative and to dig within oneself and to dig out what you're truly amazing at and what you could be world class at, and then to actually develop it into something that would add to the world so that the world could hear your unique voice and and receive your unique energy, and that the world could benefit from your unique talents. But instead you just want to get approval by being this super jack billionaire that you're never going to actually be. You're not, and again, there's maybe one person that will see this video that is already a billionaire, or maybe there's 5 people watching this that really will be able to be as jacked as Greg O'Gallagher. And if you're that person, I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear about how you're taking that and optimizing it. I'd love to hear how you're becoming a millionaire via your personal training or things like Greg O'Gallagher and Brandon Carter did. I'd love to hear about how you're using that for your social life and so on and so forth. Absolutely, I want to hear that. If you're somebody who's a billionaire, I'd love to hear how you use that and optimize it to add value to the world because that's who you are. Amazing. But if you're not actually that and you're not on a real, if you think that you're going to be a billionaire, then actually go study how to be a billionaire and look at the trajectory of it and look at what you'd have to become. But understand that even if you have $10 million, you can't win with that. You can't play the money game 10 million, 20 million, 30 million. That is nothing. However jack you're likely to get, that is nothing. You're not going to be a 10 with this. Okay? Go out in LA, go out in New York, actually talk to people. Talk to the most attractive people you can find. See what kind of parties and yachts they've been on. You're not likely to get to that point. So once you realize this about yourself, now you can begin to have an honest conversation with yourself. And when you, and by the way, I'm going to just go with a couple of different things here. I'm going to answer a couple questions here, okay? There was one thing here where it said, I think getting jacked is not unattainable. Sounds like Owen's making excuses. I want to make a comment about that. That's a fair comment. I want to be clear. What did you just finish hearing me saying? You might have just logged on. I'm not traveling right now. I'm back here and I'm already training 4 days a week. I'm hiking 4 days a week. I'm eating a little cleaner, okay? So what I said was get in shape for you. I didn't say don't get in shape. Get in shape for you. I live in a Hollywood Hills small mansion for me because I like the view. Look out there. I like working out on that balcony. I live there for me. Get as jacked as you want to get for you and your goals. Make as much money as you want to get so that you have, whether it's a nice view or some space or a place to host parties that you like. Do that for you. Do that for you. But don't believe that that's going to make you a 10 unless you're actually going to become the 10. If you can show me, look, here's a bunch of use cases and case studies of people that became billionaires. Here's my plan to become a billionaire. Here's exactly how I'm going to do it. And there's a real trajectory there. I'm listening. But when people come to me and they say, Owen, are you going to be a billionaire as like a seminar speaker? Typical seminar speakers make about $5,200 a month. Really successful ones make around $1 million a month or a couple million a month. That's a lot of money, but that's not a billionaire. So I know that about who I am, and I know that about the niche that I'm in. So let me give an example even with that. Let's say that right now I'm a seminar speaker, and then I say to myself, I'm going to become a billionaire. That's not optimizing the value of being a seminar speaker. You see what I'm saying? What's the value in being a seminar speaker? The value in being a seminar speaker is not the money. It's not a hyper lucrative industry. The advantage of being a seminar speaker is that it's fun, that it adds value, that you meet cool people, that you build this incredible network because people get to know you, that you can do really cool parties or plug yourself into different social scenes, that you feel good seeing other people getting results, that you get to be this like creative artist. That's the value of it. So when you see me go into a free tour and my speeches that I do are kind of off the wall, sometimes I don't get to the point, they're kind of creative and so on and so forth, that's because my version of getting paid is getting to be creative. It's getting to be a bit of an idiot, right? Like the fact that I can grow a beard like this is the value of being a seminar speaker. If you work in corporate, you're not allowed to grow a big, crazy, giant beard. You're just not allowed to. I mean, maybe some corporate jobs will let you, but a lot of them don't, right? So the mere fact that I get to dress colorful, I get to have a giant beard, I get to work remotely, I get to travel, I get to go shoot videos in nature, I get to do transformation work. That's the value of being a seminar speaker. So if I try to take my lifestyle as a seminar speaker, but then say, oh, I'm going to be a billionaire by running a seminar, that's not me getting the value out of it. So there's a different and unique form of value from being a seminar speaker, okay? So what you want to do is like those basics that you think are good to get them for yourself, whatever is the right amount for you that would make you happy, like the right amount of money to meet your needs. Maybe because you want to go on a trip or you want to take a course or you want to provide for your family. That's the right amount of money. The right amount of fitness to where you're mobile and you're healthy and you can go on hikes and things like that. That's the right amount of fitness. If you're into the aesthetics component and that's a hobby, then fine. But don't try to be a 10 in those areas thinking that that's your lane to be a 10 unless you're actually in a position to be a 10 money-wise, okay? So let me be clear here. $10 million is not a 10 money-wise. 20, 30 million is not a 10 money-wise, okay? Anyone who's attractive that you meet in LA or New York or Miami, and you say, I have $10 million, you're not gonna win in that lane. You say you have a 100K watch, you're not gonna win in that lane, okay? Typical rich people have watches that are worth 400 grand, $1 million. And so look up AP, look up Patek Philippe. You're not gonna win in those lanes. But maybe you have maybe you got a cool Rolex that you wanna give to your son someday. Okay, fine. But don't do it because you want to do it for approval. Just get the basics of the life that you want to build, but don't use that to be a 10. So now, how do you actually get to the point that you become a 10? Okay, so let me make this very clear to you. Okay, so let's say, for example, that I'm doing a party up here in the Hollywood Hills. So it's my party now, and I invite a bunch of people over. If I just say, come up to this house, and I think that this house here is going to do anything for me, That is very, very delusional. This house is not good enough to, and by the way, I've lived in a house that was, my 2 previous houses were like 5 times the size of this. If you want to know where I lived, look up, I could even find the addresses for you. You can look this stuff up on Zillow. One of them was called the Runyon House. That was like this huge mansion at the top of Runyon Canyon. And the other one, do you remember the address of Skyline Drive? Do you remember that? Anyway, we were at Skyline Drive where they shoot all these like music videos and we were doing all these parties. We would do parties that would be $500,000 to $1 million per party sometimes. And so, we've done all this stuff. Okay? I've lived in big, giant mega mansions, all that kind of stuff. Even in those mansions, where, I think the rent on that place was about $80,000 a month or something like that. That's not even good enough just for the house to impress somebody. Even that's not. You're better off in a studio apartment with social skills, swagger, fun, and being an idiot than you are being in a giant mega mansion thinking the mega mansion will do the job for you. It will not. It won't. That's not your strength. So you've got to start saying to yourself, what is my actual, yeah, that's right, the big mic parties, that's exactly correct. He was my old roommate. So you've got to say, we jokingly call it roommate. It's like a giant estate, but it's called a roommate. So basically what you have is, you've got to say to yourself, what is it that you actually are good at? What is it that you actually do effectively? What can you be a 10 at? Where can you be your version of a 10? So if I do a party up here and I just bring everybody up here and I don't actually apply myself, here's what it will look like. It looks like everyone's sitting in a boat in the middle of a lake getting bored. So people come up, they get bored, and they leave, okay? But meanwhile, when I'm on the road and then maybe I'm staying at a buddy's house that's just like a cheap apartment and it has like, 2 bedrooms or 1 bedroom, but we make it fun, that's where we get the best results. Now you can also make it fun up here too, but the point is you get the best results where you do the lane where you can be a 10. So what I know about myself is that I have very, very specific personality traits. I have personality traits that a lot of people find off-putting. So there's things about me that put people off that people don't like. But the funny thing is those exact same things that people don't like, the specific reason why they don't like those traits is because I'm not dumbing myself down and turning myself into a Nerf football. I am sharpening the edges of what it is that I'm doing, which means that if somebody likes what I'm doing, they're going to say, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. This is the best. This is awesome. But if somebody doesn't like it, then they're going to have the exact opposite response. So they're going to hate it. So you're kind of in this position of being loved or hated because you're being fully yourself. So you're going to make some people angry and you're going to make some people love you. Okay? So let me show you exactly what it means when you basically get to the point of, let's show what it means when you're out socializing, what that actually looks like. Okay. So when you're out socializing, you would have it where in the past when I was younger, almost everybody in the club liked me. Okay, if I go out, almost everybody liked me. So I would have good reactions from everybody, like over the top good reactions. But typically the challenge that I realized was that while I had good success, I wasn't getting the level of attraction and positive results that I get now at 44. And the reason why is because what I'm looking for now is I'm looking to be fully myself now, and then I'm looking for those 2 or 3 people in the venue that are over the moon resonating with what it is that I'm bringing to the table, okay? So what I would say is when you can truly get in the pocket of your greatest assets, and you can flesh those out, and you can fully expand them and bring them to their fullest version of what those assets are, that is where you get the crazy responses, okay? That's where you get people melting down. That's where you get people obsessed with you. That's where you get people super into you. So as an example, I'm really good at long-form content in stream of consciousness. So there's going to be a percentage of people that see that, and they're going to say, this sucks. He doesn't get to the point. And then there's other people that are going to say, this sucks, you didn't go 3 hours. Oh, only 90 minutes? I wanted 3 hours. And you're going to have people that say that. And so if I go to one of my events, you have to understand that at my events, the biggest thing that I'm kind of known for within the self-help space, okay, this is the single biggest thing that we're known for. The single biggest thing, and this is like my reputation in self-help community, is the highest spender to audience size ratio of almost any company you've ever seen. So in other words, if I only have 10,000 views on a typical video, I'm still running an 8-figure business. 10,000 views a video, 8 figures in sales, what's going on there? What that means is that I'm not needing to reach a gazillion people, okay? I'm just reaching the people that are super, super, super passionate about what it is that I'm doing. So, so people will find out I do YouTube and they'll say, well, how many subs do you have? Or like, how many views do you get on videos? And I'm like, why don't you ask me how much money the channel brings in? Like, why are you talking about views on videos? Why are you talking about subscribers? Why don't you talk about the impact that you're making and helping other people? So people miss that metric, right? In other words, it's like if you went out to a club and then I said, how many people rejected you? What does it matter how many people rejected you? What should matter is, did you meet somebody who really, really resonated with you and then you ran off together and had the best night ever? You see the difference there, right? So are we focused on the result or are we focused on approval? And that's the core element of when you dumb yourself down, is that you're dumbing yourself down at the mercy of trying to get other people's approval. So what I know about myself is I know that no matter where I do a party, that I'm not going to compete on money. What I know about myself is that if I go and I do, I go out to a bar or club, I'm not going to compete based on my body. I know those things about myself. So in any given day, you have about 16 waking hours, and you have to ask yourself, to what extent are you optimizing for that? So as much as some people might say, oh, I want to get jacked, I would ask you, come out with me to a bar or club and show me how what you're doing is getting you a good response. Show me who you're leaving the club with that night. Show me that. I want to actually see that. Show me your dating history. Show me who your social group is. Was you going to GNC and getting some creatine and some protein powder and going to 24-hour fitness? Like, this was really changing your results that much? You grew your business? Like, you made your first 500K? Wow. Like, did that change your social results that much? Show me the actual difference that this made. Come out with me to a social venue and let me learn from you. Show me how what you're doing is getting a better result, and I will change my opinion. But what I've consistently seen is that it's very, very rare that you can win within a game that somebody else made. The only way, so here's how you actually win. You fully optimize your frame, you fully live up to your standards, and you fully believe in your standards. You play your game. And you play it with so much alignment, congruence. It is something that you're so into yourself that other people begin to question whether or not their ways of thinking are good, and then they begin to adopt your frame. And within your frame, you are the 10. In other words, if I say to you, what's your values? And then you say, my values are being as jacked as Greg O'Gallagher and as rich as Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. And that's your version of being a 10. All that tells me is that you're not creative. There's no unique energy signature to you. There's no unique form of thinking. You're just someone that's sucked in someone else's frame, trying to live up to their game, but they set the rules, and you're never gonna actually win. You're never gonna win. There's like one guy that's watching this out of thousands who's like, no, I'm actually a billionaire. There's like 5 guys out of thousands that are like, no, I'm a male model. I'm super jacked. My friend Eli Wilhide, he's the sexy Santa on the in New York Times, right? Like, here, pull up, type in Eli Wilhide. This is like a buddy of mine. Eli Wilhide. He does the sexy Santa. It's like ELIWILHIDE, and then type in. He teaches a lot of great sales stuff too. And then, yeah, there it is, first one. And then type in sexy Santa. Type in sexy Santa at the top, and then go to Google Images, right? Eli's the man. Google Images, Just images. Nope. Images. Yep. There you go. So like, okay, like look at, okay, if you're this guy, you know, like pick like the one on the top left or something. If you're this is like my friend Eli. Like if you're that guy, you know, if that's you, don't listen to me. What are you watching my stuff for? Now, of course, you know that I go out with Eli, and maybe you shoot him a DM and you ask him what he thinks. But the point is, you know, if you're gonna be him, well then yeah. Why are you watching me? You know what I'm saying? If you're that guy, just throw up a Bumble, let it rip. You know, if you're Greg O'Gallagher, then throw up a Bumble, let it rip. But in effect, what it is like, I'm not that guy. That's not me. So I can spend my whole life trying to be that guy. Like, I want to be like Eli. I want to be like Eli, everybody. But I'm not Eli. Okay? And if Eli tries to do exactly what I do, he's not going to do exactly what I do. So the problem is like, if you're, like, okay, like let me give another example. Like, say right now that I told you that you had a $10,000 a day budget for a yacht, okay? 10 grand a day. So here, type in $10,000 per day yacht and just see what the 10 grand a day gets you. 10 grand a day, you can multiply that by 30 and see what it would cost you a month. $10,000 a day yacht, you know, yacht rental, right? So, okay, let's just have a quick look at that. So like, let's see what that gets you in a day, okay? Probably the one like on the top left kind of thing, you know, something like that, right? Like in a high-end neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? I've rented yachts, maybe a little smaller than that, and done videos in, and it's not even a yacht, but done videos, say, in like New York City, okay? Is that showing on the thing? Yeah, like I've done videos in New York City or in Chicago. You guys ever see those videos that I shot in New York City or in Chicago or Miami, like on like little boats like that? You know, I was probably paying like 3 grand to do a little tour. If I'd done it for the whole day, it probably would have been, say, 10 grand, right? Now type in Leo DiCaprio yacht. And Leo doesn't even pay for this, by the way. Leo can't even afford this. He just mooches it off of billionaires, you know? So see if you can, yeah, so like, let's find like, you know, more like a mega yacht. Yeah, so click on that one. Click on that. So, you know, so go down. You've got to understand, like see the helicopter on the yacht? Look, because you can't even see the scale until you see the damn helicopter. Do you see the helicopter on the yacht? They've been on that. They're on that right now in Art Basel in Miami. Okay? Like, if I try to get a hold of my ex-girlfriend right now, she's on probably that exact damn boat, I'm half kidding, in Miami right now in Art Basel. So, okay, I remember I was sitting there with an ex of mine, sitting out on a beach, and I was like, oh, isn't it nice that, you know, I was at a hotel that was like $1,000 a day. I thought that was pretty good. And then right on the beach, she's like, oh, I used to be on that yacht last year with Leo. So if you're thinking in your mind that you're going to win even with 10 grand a day, they've been on that yacht. You're saying to yourself, oh, I'm going to get jacked. They've been with the guy that was like the sexy Santa on Times Square. So unless you're going to win in that lane, stop trying to win in that lane. You're not going to win in that lane. Instead, what you do is you make the amount of money that makes you happy. Get in the exact shape not the shape that makes you feel better about your inferiority for your ego, but that gives you the mobility and health that you want and the general aesthetic that you want. Then what you do is now you've done that, and then you say to yourself, where could I actually win? Okay? Where can I actually win? And what I'd recommend to you is come out with me. Come watch me do this, okay? And here's what you'll see if you come out with me. You'll see me chatting with everybody, and I'm having fun chatting with everybody. I'm confident, I'm outgoing. And then what you're gonna see is throughout the night, you're gonna see certain people that will blow your mind and surprise you go into kind of like a trance. And they'll start saying, I've never met someone like you. This is so cool. Wow. And they're gonna go gushing with compliments, okay? Gushing. Now, look what I've done here with the giant beard. Why did I do the giant beard? Do you think that most people that I meet out are attracted to the giant gray Santa Claus beard? You think that's like a thing? That's, for the majority of people I'm meeting, that's not a thing. But it might be for 5% that I'm meeting, that's a thing. And for that 5% that I'm meeting with a big giant beard, they're going to start touching it, and they're going to start stroking it, and then in my DMs, they're going to make comments about the beard and all that kind of stuff. And that's going to be a major driver for why they want to meet up. Because what I've done is I've niched down. So I've gone into a niche that I'm capable of actually winning rather than playing one that I'm not going to lose. So you have to understand that to the right person, and this will sound insane to you, and you will have a hard time believing it till you do it, to the right person, this is more of a draw than the Santa in the New York Times Square thing. Now that's hard for you to believe because you've never truly niched down. You've never actually seen what it means to niche down. So you don't understand that. So you're like, no, I just want to be the billionaire sexy Santa. Like that's really what my soul wants. For 99.9% of people, that's not what their soul wants. That is what their ego wants because they're in someone else's frame. You're only wanting that in most cases because you're in someone else's frame. You should have, if you're a 44-year-old man like myself, you should have a cool crib, but it shouldn't become your life's mission to have the biggest house in order that you feel like you don't have a 2-inch pecker. You see where I'm going with this, right? It's like you shouldn't be operating from a point of being in somebody else's frame or childhood insecurities or inferiority. You should do what you want because you love it. Figure out what your core strengths are and then win within those core strengths. So what do I know about myself? I'm very off the wall. I'm very loud. I also happen to be very well read. I'm into things like meditation. These are all things that are going to come out in my social interactions. And so now all of a sudden, if the person who I'm talking to is into meditation and they're like, you're so present. Or say they're into public speaking and they're like, wow, like, how do you talk in the camera like that? Like, I have followers on my social media, but like, I don't know how to talk in the camera like you do. Or say that they are actually trying to work on their humor or they're trying to work on their personality and they see that I'm more evolved in my humor or personality, right? I'm kind of in a more like angry tone here because the stuff frustrates me. But when I'm out having fun, I'm just joking all the time. Well, now all of a sudden, like if they value humor and they've tried to become funnier, now they're trying to jump into my frame. Another one, and I think this is a huge one, is just that you just do life better than they do. That's got to be the biggest one, is you just do life better than they do. And there's a feeling to it. There's a vibe where it's kind of like when you're walking around, it's like you're walking on a cloud, and they just feel like you're just doing life better than they do. And they feel that. They feel that you're more happy within your frame. And then because you're happier within your frame, they begin to question their frame and they suddenly go into your frame. And here's the kind of funny things that happen. And this is like completely crazy. This is totally nuts. Let me give you some like pragmatic examples of this, okay? You'll be talking to a billionaire businessman. And that guy has spent his entire life becoming a billionaire or makes hundreds of millions. But you're just having more fun. You do better parties, you're laughing more, you're happier. And that billionaire who built that out of total insecurity is miserable, totally stuck in their head, totally logical. Now, when you're the one person in that venue who wants nothing from them, and couple that with the fact that you're getting more attention than they are in that venue because you're using your personality, using a core strength, not buying into his frame, then what happens is he comes to that venue, sees that you're getting way more attention, sees that you have more attraction, sees that you have more networking, sees that you're happier, sees that you're having more fun, and they get insecure. When a billionaire is insecure, they'll typically go to you and they'll try to put you in their frame. So they'll come up to you and they'll say, what's your business? I can give you some advice. Like they don't say it like that, but that's the general frame that they're giving. It's like, they're going to give you some advice. And no different than when you're out and somebody who's really attractive comes up to you and starts hitting on you, you don't just want to be like, me? Really? Oh, yeah, me. You still want to keep being you, and then that's going to draw them to keep pursuing you. In the same way with a guy billionaire, you don't want to be like, really? Some advice? Wow, I'm going to stop being the center of the party. I'm going to stop having fun, and I'm just going to now get on my knees for you. Give me the advice. When in reality, you could just read their book. What are they going to tell you that you couldn't read in their book? People always put their best stuff in their book. So you don't need them for anything. So what you do is you just stay in your frame, stay having fun, and you treat them like anybody else, just like you do the people that you're most attracted to. Treat them like anybody else, and keep staying in your lane. Don't take the bait when, the person that you're attracted to starts jumping on you, or when the billionaire starts trying to give you advice, or when the promoter starts offering to get you in somewhere. Be receptive and reciprocate somewhat and engage them. You don't just want to run away and be too cool. Like that's weird, but you still keep being you and you stay in your frame because everybody wants to chase. everybody on some level wants to chase. Everybody wants to feel like they went out to the networking thing and they networked with someone cool who expanded their reality. Everybody wants to go out to that bar or club and meet someone that they find attractive and different and unique. So what I'm looking to do when I go out is I'm not trying to win in the lane of the rich guy or the jack guy. I'm trying to win in the lane of someone who they've never met before. So I'm looking to become one of one. And I'm not looking for everybody to be super resonating with it, but I'm looking for those few people. And so when people go out with me, I'll tell them this. I'll go, watch this. I'm going to be fully myself. I'm going to be totally me. It's going to be generally great interactions, but you're going to see that some of them just pop. And you'll just see it's like their brains explode. Like you'll see it. They just pop. And you see them go in trance, and you see them start complimenting you, and they're confused. Like you'll see them like, wow, like you're so awesome. Like, I love you. I love you. And they'll start blurting out, I love you. It doesn't mean they love you, but they just start blurting it out because they're so overwhelmed with emotion. And the reason they're doing that is because they've met guy after guy after guy after guy. A whole bunch of them are jacked. A whole bunch of them are rich, but they never met a guy who is like a contained unit. Look at that word. I don't even know if I'd keep that word or not. I'm kind of just saying it off the cuff, but it's like, I don't have quite the perfect word for it, but it's like a contained unit. Okay. Here's what I mean. The guy who gets jacked for approval, it's like this uncontained unit. It's like he did it, but he did it for approval. So there's this kind of energy leakage. I'm probably not explaining this well. I like to do these lives to kind of riff off the cuff and kind of formulate ideas and stuff that I'll later put in products. But it's like he got jacked, but for approval. It doesn't mean that every guy that got jacked did it for approval, but a lot of them did. And they got jacked for approval, and it's like they're leaking energy, or especially rich guys. At least the jack guy is attractive physically, but the rich guy may not even be physically attractive. So it's like he built this money, and he's just leaking energy because he did it for approval. And so what happens is, like, in the same way that as a guy, let's say you mess around with somebody, you have what's called post-nut clarity. It's like as soon as you kind of finish off, you get that post-nut clarity. What people who are attractive get when they meet you in the club is that when they see that you're doing what you're doing and behaving how you're behaving and living how you're living for their approval, they get a metaphorical post-nut clarity right there in the club, and they get what's called an RAS flip. And you'll see it, like as soon as they detect that you live your life in a way to get approval, or that you're speaking to them in a way to get approval, you see them just suddenly get this metaphorical post-nut clarity where they kind of snap out of it, and they rapidly remove you from the pedestal. They depedestalize you, and then they kind of devalue you, and they see you completely differently. And it's because they realize, oh, they did that to get my validation. So the polarity, the magnet gets thrown off, right? Anything that you're doing for approval or validation winds up killing attraction, and winds up giving away your power, and winds up depedestalizing you. So you can clearly see the difference with somebody who worked out because they love their body. They love the way that it makes them feel. And typically somebody who does it for that reason, and this is not every case at all, so this is kind of me just wankering around here, but to some extent, I've noticed some commonality where, like, they stretch, they have mobility, maybe they can do things that are more athletically oriented or mobility oriented. Like, they did it because they love it. They love feeling their body being fit. They love being able to go hike that hiking trail. And they like being jacked too because they like the way it looks and the way it makes them feel. But there's an overall love for the process. Maybe they love working out. Or maybe they're even somebody who hates working out, but they love the feeling of discipline that they get from it. So it's a passion. It's a real passion. Or somebody even who makes money, but they make the amount of money that they want. It's the amount that they want. They weren't doing it for approval. They were doing it because they love what they're building. Maybe they're an entrepreneur and they love architecting a company, but they're not all strung out and stressed from it. Maybe some stress was like a eustress, but they love the climb of the mountain. They love the ascension of the mountain itself, and it gives them joy and it gives them passion, but they're doing it because they're passionate. If you're making money or getting jacked for those reasons and it's a real passion for you, then it's actually more powerful than a guy with a better body than you or a guy with more money than you, okay? So as soon as you're having say you have a fat crib and you're doing a party, but they can tell that you did it for approval because you wouldn't have the skill to meet them without the fat crib, you lose value. As soon as you got jacked but you did it for them because you're insecure, you lose value. Like you do realize, people who do say cosplay And some of them, not all of them by any means, by the way, by any means, but some of them are like a little bit wacky, or like they've done documentaries of these people who dress up as like superhero characters on Hollywood Boulevard. They've actually done documentaries, and a lot of them actually have mental illness. So like, they dress up as like Batman and they run around on Hollywood Boulevard getting tips because they're mentally ill. Not all of them, by the way, at all, but some of them, right? A lot of these mega jacked bodybuilders that you'll see, like a Ronnie Coleman type jacked, a lot of them when you meet them have an almost identical personality to like the wacky person who does like the cosplay type stuff. You're thinking that this is like some super alpha male or something, when it's somebody who might have been like beaten as a child and is just trying to get really, really big to kind of hide the fact that they've been beaten. So when you're doing it for passion itself, that's the sweet spot. Make the amount of money that you're passionate to make. Get in the kind of shape with your body that gives you mobility and that gives you pride and so on and so forth. But do it because you truly love it. Don't do it to get approval and to ride in somebody else's lane. Then what you do is you go deep within yourself, you figure out who you are, you figure out what's unique about you, and then you figure out how to flesh that out, and then you use the power of controlling the frame to impose that frame, and you do it with such grace and passion and confidence that other people see that, they want to be part of it, and then they want to keep up. And when you do it that way, other people then place you as the 10 in a game that you can actually win. So in doing this, what are you going to notice? It's a really, really crazy thing, okay, what you're going to see. You're going to see that sky is the limits as far as your results. So that doesn't mean that you can pick just anybody to draw into your life. You can't just pick anybody. Like, I pick them. But as far as the actual quality of the people that you can bring into your life, sky is the limits. What does that mean? That means that there's no level of beauty that you couldn't date. That means that there's no level of personality and intellect that you couldn't date. That means that there's no level of wealthy client or famous client that you couldn't attract. So it doesn't mean that you can say, I want that famous client, I want that rich client, but it means that you could say, I'd want somebody at that level of fame or that level of financial success, and you will attract clients like that. So I have many billionaire clients. I've dated many, believe it or not, famous people. I've actually dated famous people. It's kind of weird. I have had famous clients, and so on and so forth. So there's no limit to who you could draw into your life, but you're niching down and you're specializing so that you can actually meet the right person. Now, where's the bad side of this? Here's where I'd say is the bad side. The bad side of just being yourself is when you rationalize that laziness is yourself. So in other words, if you say, if you make it about you and your laziness, that's not being yourself, and that's not you and your strength zone, right? So somebody says, I don't want to brush my teeth. Like, you said, be yourself. I don't want to brush my teeth. I want to have rotting, stinking teeth. If that happens to you because no fault of your own, you roll with it, right? But let's say that you just let that happen and, you could have controlled it. That's not you being yourself. That's not you tapping into a unique strength. Like, my unique strength is I'm too lazy to brush my teeth. That's not a unique strength, okay? You saying, I just want to add nothing into a conversation, and I just want to be a creep and just go up on person after person, just expecting them to give me everything I want. That's not you being yourself, playing to your unique strength. That's just you being too lazy not to add anything. So the way that you want to think about it is you go within yourself and you see what you truly deeply are passionate about and you truly deeply resonate with, and it's that thing that just gives you almost like a divine energy. Like, just thinking about that thing gives you this divine, beautiful energy. It just energizes you. And you realize, like, this is my purpose. This is what I'm here to do. This is who I am. This is me. This is my real passion. This is my love. This is how I want to be. And this is what I want to cultivate further. And I want to double down and triple down and 1000x down that. Like, and it gives you energy. And then from that energy, you cultivate it. And by the way, maybe that energy is like I'm a more upbeat person, but you might be a more chilled out person. And so what gives you energy is just to be deeply, deeply, deeply present. Maybe you speak more slowly. But notice how I speak more quickly. But if I met someone who spoke more slowly, but they were more confident of their frame and speaking slowly than me, I would potentially begin to question myself and then want to speak more slowly to align to them. Because I'd be like, wow, that's so cool. Like they kind of just do life better than me. You see where I'm going with this? So the way that you impose your frame is that you do life in such a flow and in such a grace, such a like you're just living your life. It's like your party's happening whether they come or not. You know, like I talk about the free tour, right? Again, www.selfhelpfreetour.com. When you see me doing seminars, as an example, okay, we have one coming up literally this weekend in LA, and a bunch of other cities coming up, and many more cities that are listed here. Or, you know, and the very best lessons of it, by the way, higherpurposeprogram.com. If you can't make it, I'd recommend you fly in. But if for any reason you can't make it, you want the best lessons laid out in step-by-step format, go to www.higherpurposeprogram.com. Hop in there, okay? And, you know, when you see me doing these seminars, right, and you come into my world, you know what you might feel? I wish I was doing seminars. This is so cool because I love what I do. But there could be somebody else entirely different who likes to meditate and doesn't want to yell their opinions at people. And then maybe someone like me would look at them, and if they own that frame enough, I might be like, I want to be like them. So do you see where I'm getting at? The war here, the real war, is who can own their frame strong enough that they're living life better and in a higher frequency, that other people questions their frame and want to go into your frame. Like, can you be that guy who's maybe into, I don't know, have you ever seen guys like, say, the functional patterns guy or the knees over toes guy? You ever seen gurus like that? You know? And like, could you be so into, like, they're very skinny and they're incredibly healthy, right? But they're very, very lean. You know, so how could like the knee over toes guy make, you know, somebody who's like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type build be like, I don't want to be this big steroided out, you know, muscle head. I want to be like the knees over toes guy. That's what you have to be doing. Own your frame that other people doubt their frame, want to adopt your frame, and then you are the leader within that frame. You are the 10 within that frame. Own it so much. So it's like when you know, so it's whoever has the stronger frame wins. In any social interaction, there's social pinging going on unconsciously. And whoever's pinging less off the other person, their frame wins. And I mean, you even see this in politics. You know, look at like the Republican or Democrat debates that they do. And it's not necessarily who has the best policies. It's just who's the least reactive and who owns their frame enough. If you remember when Donald Trump won, why did he win? Because rather than trying to live up to the frame of the Republican parties, go look at his old videos from 2016, okay? You should even look up who wrote his speeches. And what you'll see is Donald Trump set the agenda. He set the agenda. He brought up a whole bunch of different topics that then other people had to start reacting to. Who taught him all this? Where did he learn this from? You know, so when I tell you sky's the limit, think big, presidency level stuff by following that rule. He brought up the most random stuff. The wall, brings it up, but he believed in his frame. We can literally pull up videos of Trump where they're assaulting him and attacking him, and he doesn't care at all. Totally indifferent. And just maintains his frame. He will not go in their frame. Look up the Megyn Kelly clip. This was famous. They even made a movie after this, okay? Actually, let's leave that one alone because that's sensitive for where we are. But anyway, the point being is look up that clip. And what you'll see is somebody who's dictating the frame. So what I would say to you is ask yourself, what does it feel like to be in my frame? So you like what does it feel like to be in your frame? Like when I go up and I do a video, okay? And I come and talk to you guys. I'm not thinking, how do I live up to your frame? I'm thinking, how do I internally align? Here, let me show you literally what I'm thinking. How do I internally align? How do I feel right now? And how do I get out of my own way? How do I get present, tap in, be fully myself, and remove the mask? My only goal with you when I'm talking to you is to completely remove the mask, to be absolutely vulnerable, to be fully myself, and to, via that process, tap in and get into this kind of beautiful flow state. That's all I'm thinking. And then as I'm doing that, I'm just getting out of my own way and I'm being me. I'm me. This is it. Love it or hate it. That's on you. Now, I do believe that beyond that, a foray into your belief systems and into your limitations is worth it. I regularly look at both left-wing and right-wing political commentary to question my own views. I go find the best, I go right to the top when it comes to experts. Right to the top. I'm not like, you know what I think for my ideas? I go right to the top. Okay? I back up the Brinks truck. I say, what do you need? Tell me what to think. So if there's an area that I need to learn, I back up the Brinks truck. What do you need? I go right to the top. I'm 44. I don't have any time to waste, okay? When you're 44, you don't have time to waste reinventing the wheel. You find out who's the best in the world. You back up the Brinks truck. You say, take it. What do you need? Come and help me. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to think, because you go to the best. That is a process of self-education. You should look at things like, am I a selfish piece of crap? And question that. So there are things about yourself that you want to question, not just say, oh, this is who I am, this selfish, lazy, not tapped in, value-sucking leech, parasite. I'm not saying that that's you. Like I said earlier, who you are is who you are when you truly are vulnerable, tap in, and it gives you energy, and you're in that flow, and it's God's divine plan for your personality, for your authentic self, for your life, for your legacy, for the value that you're going to add, and the energy and unique snowflake of a personality that you are, that you bring to the world. And you just own it. But from a pragmatic standpoint, try to differentiate between regularly trying to live up to other people's standards and where that gets you versus fully owning who you are, to where you have removed 99.9% of approval seeking, you're in a flow state, and because you're not burning mental capital trying to get approval and trying to live up to other people's frame, you're punching, not counterpunching. You're flowing, not constricting, and reacting. You're proactive, not reactive. Okay? So you remember the last video? We talked about the Ruperts. You remember that last video? I really enjoyed that last video. Great response on it. Thank you. Much better response than I expected because it was a nuanced video. I really appreciated that beautiful response. Thank you so much. So, the Rupert, right? I was saying how it's like we're chasing phantoms here. We're counterpunching. We're chasing phantoms. The whole looks and money thing, unless you're going to win in that lane, is chasing phantoms. Beat that to the extent that you have the body that you want for your health and for your purposes and for your general aesthetic in a healthy way. Get the kind of cash that you want, that you can live in a cool crib and get what you want to get and do what it is that you want to do. Travel where you want to travel for your passion, for what you want. Get those things. But beyond that, realize that as long as you're trying to chase approval, it's constricting your flow states. It's giving you this weird incongruent look of like thoughts, words, and actions are not aligned. It's clear that you're doing it for the sake of approval. It's clear that it's not who you even really are. And people feel that off of you. Okay, so like one of my specialties over the years would be finding that guy who's 5'2" that crushes it in social life. Finding that guy who's ugly that crushes it in social life. Finding that guy in a wheelchair that crushes it in social life. And I spent decades finding examples of this. And what was the commonality that I saw of people like this? Here's what was funny. You want to hear something crazy? I typically saw better results from guys that were 5'2" or guys in a wheelchair than I saw from guys that were 5'9" and relatively jacked. And you want to know why that is? Because the guy that's 5'9" can imagine that he's almost 6 feet. The guy who's somewhat jacked can imagine that he's jacked. Because they're almost there at the mainstream, they could do it the easy, thoughtless, mainstream way. They're almost there. It winds up seducing them into trying to win in that lane. It seduces them because they're like, I'm almost there. I'm almost jacked. I'm almost rich. I'm almost the chat. And they keep trying to win in that lane, but they never do. They're like the AAA baseball player who plays AAA his whole life and never makes the major leagues and thus gets paid like $50K a year or something. It's like that model who thinks they're going to do Victoria's Secret and make the 50 mil, but they just wind up doing a bit of Instagram and they wind up making $2,000 a month if they're lucky, and maybe like a trip, or they have to do some weird scandalous thing to get the trip. It's like they're almost there, but they never actually make it. And so you've got to say to yourself, if I'm being me, but to finish that point, a lot of the guys that I saw that were, say, 5'2" or 5'4", had given up on trying to play somebody else's game. Out of necessity, They wound up becoming a sort of self-contained unit. They had a unique energy signature. And that doesn't mean that a guy that's 5'2", is smashing it all over the club the entire night. But what it means was that guy is able to go around the venue, project his unique energy, and eventually find someone incredible because he's being himself. So what this means tangibly, whereas the 5'9" guy just keeps, he's in that hamster wheel of chasing approval. He's almost there. He's almost got the approval. And if someone would just like him, he'd feel like the Chad. And I watched this loop go for years and years and years on different people. So ironically, the person that gives up is actually better off. It's like how you see people in a third world country that are so much happier than some person living in America. Go to Mexico, go to Brazil, go to Africa, and you will see smiles there, that, where real smiles that I can't give, that only a child can give, because they've given up the habit of trying to play this game of consumer culture, and so they wind up finding joy in skipping rope. They find up finding joy in dancing. They find up finding joy in having a dinner with family. And they wind up happier than the billionaire because they're not playing somebody else's game. Now, does that mean to go live in a third world country? That's the answer? I don't think it is. I think the answer is to be healthy, to make some money, to live if you can live in a first world country, enjoy and appreciate it. Not everybody does. Many viewers here do not. But I'm just saying, if you live in a third world country, live in a better neighborhood. But realize that you're not going to find your ultimate happiness, your ultimate win in someone else's lane. Try to find some and try to find some appreciation for what you have. Now, I get it that on some level you feel like I don't want to have a limiting belief. I don't want to have a limiting belief that I'm not going to be a billionaire. I don't want to have a limiting belief that I can't be the Giga Chat and so on and so forth. And like I said, the odd person can ride that lane and they'll win. But for 99% of people that are not going to be that, why don't we look at another self-help concept that you're ignoring? It's called gratitude. It's called your divine purpose. It's called owning who you are. So you can look at me, for example, and you can say, well, you're not a billionaire, Owen. And you could say, that's a limiting belief. And then what I could do is, say that I'm 44 right now. Let's say that I live to 84. So I can spend the remaining 44 years of my life rather than skiing down Telluride or Jackson Hole with my children, rather than doing beautiful seminars where everybody there is having the best time, selfhelpfreetour.com, hint, hint, okay? Rather than creating beautiful vibes and energy at events, rather than sharing an alive here with you, rather than enjoying the couple hundred or 1,000 people that came out to love and appreciate the energy that I'm bringing, rather than doing that, I can just be Mr. Poopy Pants, and I can be mad that I don't have $1 billion, even though I don't even know how to spend the amount of money that I have now. You see where I'm going with this? I don't even know how to spend the amount of money I have now, but somehow I'm going to sit there angry that I don't have $1 billion. So, and understand a lot of these trappings that you see, like load up the video. There's a great video. Look up Mr. Wonderful AP Watch. Mr. Wonderful AP Watch. We're going to do this on YouTube, okay? Let me show you. Yeah, you can see the. One sec. Okay, the TikTok. That one there. See if that'll load. I don't know if that'll load or not. Okay. So, if not, try to find that exact same video on YouTube. Okay, give us a sec here, guys. This might be it. Here, play this, but it may or may not be it. Play it.
A one-of-a-kind overview. This is oh, caramba! Look at that. Isn't that stunning? Of course, that unique red band, there's only one of these in the world. Don't you just love that?
Okay, type it in again because we're going to get the best one, okay? Type in the exact same thing in YouTube. Go to YouTube, and then type this in, okay? But I'm going to show you. You literally see him cry. And I don't know if he, I don't know if he did that. Go to Mr. Wonderful AP Watch. Yeah, AP Watch. You got it. There it is. Okay. So you're going to see him literally at one side. Yeah, there, the third. Okay. So watch this, okay?
It's incredible. I can't believe I'm holding it. The only one in the world.
Okay, pause. So at a certain point of wealth, things like that are used to justify being in a low vibe. That's what that actually, like what you're seeing there is a Rupert, as I said in the other video, it's a distraction to make him justify not going skiing with his family. Okay? Now, you're saying, no, I'm gonna be the billionaire, and I'm gonna have the $1 million AP watch, and I'm gonna go skiing with my family. Well, skiing with my family, what are you optimizing for? What are you actually optimizing for? So I can tell you for me, like let me show you exactly how I live my life, okay? What I do is I optimize to have all the money that I need to do what I want to do. And then what I do is I say to myself, how can I go ski every ski hill, go to every national park, do beautiful dinner parties up in the Hollywood Hills with my friends, go to all the best restaurants? How do I do all the best hiking trails? How do I go take all the educational trainings that I want? How do I read world literature? How do I have time to meditate? How do I have time to educate my kids, spend quality time with my kids? I spend a lot of time educating my kids, okay? So how do I get it to where I haven't been sick in 12 years and I love the work that I do? That's what I'm optimizing for, okay? So if you think about my life, you know, how do I spend my day? I'm looking up national parks I want to go to. I'm looking up outdoor adventures that I want to go to. I'm asking myself how I can take off 2 months or 3 months so I don't have to work for a couple months. I'm saying to myself, how can I didn't used to do that. I used to work 16 hours a day for decades, but I'm 44 now. Why would I work 16 hours a day when I'm 44? So I'm saying to myself, who are the best people I could invite to a party? How can we make the party super, super, super fun? How can I do free events for you? Like literally, like stop and think about this. I'm thinking, how can I do a free event for you and balance the books on that? It's a lot of math work that goes in just running around doing free events, okay? So make sure that you get in one of these free events, by the way. And also, if you can't make it there right now, this course right here is completely, you know, how do I put out a completely free course that'd probably be worth $500 or $600? Right then and there, step by step, okay? These videos are rants because the step-by-steps in there, some people, they're like, they'll say, Owen just goes on a rant because he won't just get to the point. Because it's all there, it's step by step. I've given you the course step by step so that we can go a little deeper in the rant. That's the system. People don't get that. If you haven't watched this yet, why are you watching the rant? The foundations are inside Higher Purpose Program. Get inside Higher Purpose Program. Then come and meet up in person at an event completely for free. Okay? What in LA here this weekend? www.selfhelpfreedoer.com. So I'm saying to myself, how can I give away a free course? How can I do a free event? How can I educate my children? How can I have fun? How can I laugh a lot? How can I laugh more today? So I'm optimizing for what I love. How can I have a career that allows me to be who I am and to cultivate who I am and to cultivate my core strengths? Like I'd ask you right now, you know, is the work and job that you're doing, is that something that's allowing you to cultivate your core strengths? Is it giving you joy? Is it giving you passion? Are you getting something out of it? Or are you just sitting there miserable with what it is that you're doing and not really evolving? So these are questions that you've got to ask yourself. You know, if you look at, say, look at, for example, a big, giant, jacked guy, okay, and then compare that to, say, a guy like Jay Alvarez. Now, Jay Alvarez, I've seen him around LA. That guy smashes it. And you'll say to yourself, oh, well, he's good looking or whatever. Jay Alvarez is like some skinny dude who will say is good looking because he carries himself like he's a good looking guy. But it's not like he's like Jay Alvarez good looking. But load up Jay Alvarez's Instagram. What you'll see with Jay Alvarez is he's a guy that's just doing what it is that he will go to IG. But you know, you'll see an example of a guy who's just doing what it is that he wants to do. You know, ask yourself that. You know, type in Jay Alvarez. So, yeah, it'll be J-Y, but maybe, yeah, there it is. So, I mean, this guy here, crush it. No, that ain't him. So, it's like J-A-Y, right? So, J-A-Y Alvarez, yeah. Everybody knows this guy. Yeah, so there he is. It's the 8 million one, you know. So, he's not the 35 million one. He's the 8 million one. Just keep playing around, bro. You'll find it. Just click around more, you know, do more stuff, you know, the more you do, the more fast you'll find it. So it's like, you actually had it before, by the way, you totally had it before. It was the guy with the 8 million, okay? So you'd probably delete it because you had it before. It'll come back, you lose a couple of letters and then lose one more letter, J-A-Y-A-L, Go back. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right there. There you go. Okay, so click that. Yeah, so look what this guy's doing. Like, he's just some skinny guy. You're letting this guy dominate you? He's just some skinny guy. But this guy crushes it. Why? Because look at what he's doing. He's doing what he's passionate about. He's doing what it is that he wants to do. Right? By a lot of people's standards who are into bodybuilding, they'd be like, I could never even leave my house if I look like this. He's like a skeleton. But he's like, he's surfing with his dog. He's doing what it is that he wants to do. And by the way, we can hate on anybody. And I know things about this guy behind the scenes that I could hate on him for too. Wow, you figured out how to be a hater. Win for you. You figured out something wrong with somebody who's owning you. Okay? So, anyway, we'll turn that off. So, it's like, it's some skinny guy. But you will accept that, like, oh, I don't look like Jay Alvarez. What, some skinny guy? So he's winning because he's doing what he loves to do. Now, to be fair, obviously skydiving and surfing is a bit more of a stereotype than if you love to computer program, okay? But again, if you love to computer program and that's your passion, then find a way to be the peacocky version of that guy, which means that you own who you are. You're hilarious. You're social. You go out. You meet people. You own your space. You own who you are. Meet everybody. Invite them up for a party and then be you. But not the lazy version of you, not the computer programmer version of you who programs because you're traumatized and you're introverted and you can't handle talking to people because your parents beat you up or something like that. But create environments where you can draw in your tribe who's into that, okay? So for example, even though self-help is not exactly like a kinky thing to the average person that I meet out, if I love it and I'm into it and then I make it cool, I can invite the people who I meet out to my seminars. I can invite the people who I meet out to the trainings that I do. And I bring them in my environment where I'm respected, where I'm a leader, where I'm passionate, and where I'm in my excellence. So they get to come into this environment and they're like, I never thought of this, like a self-help guy? But then they're seeing everybody into it and they're seeing the leadership and they're seeing the passion and all these qualities are coming out. So how can you draw somebody into an environment where you're respected, where you're a leader, where other people want to be around it, where it's fun, where it's inviting, where it's like a pleasure bubble that you've created, and invite them in and own it? And have you truly curated that? Like, you're sitting there saying, oh, I need more money or this or that. If I go to your apartment right now, what does it look like? Because I don't know about you, but I probably spend hundreds of hours thinking about how I'm going to lay out a party. Everything from the temperature of the house, to the lighting, to the music, to the food, to the vibe, to curating the crowd. I'm thinking about these things. But you yourself have probably never even thought about these things. So you're saying, you've never really thought about your humor, I bet. You probably never thought about how to bring energy. Have you ever actually gone within yourself and learned to curate your own energy and seen how the energy that you have infects other people for good or bad? Infuses or infects? Have you ever stopped to look at that? Have you? Have you ever, like, if I look at you right now, if I look at your apartment, is it a place that you could invite people back to? If I look at your social circle, are you a leader within that social circle? If I look at your group of friends, are you able to bring me out to a group of friends that you have that I could be a part of and that I would want to maybe be a part of that and think it's cool or interesting, or like I went into like kind of a unique world? If I look at your sense of humor, is it well cultivated? Because during your life, as you've picked up different forms of humor, you've internalized that. If I look at your communication, is it flowing or is it a king toes? If I look at things like your anxiety around socializing, have you beat that because you own who you are, you're being sincere, you're being yourself, or are you a fraud and a fake, and as a result of that, you have anxiety around meeting new people? Are you talkative because you're truly being who you are, or are you running out of things to say and need a routine because of the fact that you're faking, because you think that what you're doing is not good enough? Have you trained yourself to believe in who you are, how to own your space, how to tap into your best vibe, which you tap into because authenticity in and of itself puts you in a euphoric state. It makes you talkative. It makes you fun. Do you have the kind of frame that if I met you as a guy, maybe I'd question myself and want to be a little bit more like you? Do you have the kind of frame that if I've spent years cultivating my frame and my reality and my vibe, I'd want to be friends with you, maybe not to copy you, but maybe just to pick up a little bit of the juju, as they say, a little bit of your vibe, a little bit of how you do things, a little bit about how you think, a little bit about how you ground yourself and energetically center yourself. Would I want to pick something up from you? Is there something there? Is there anything there? Are you a self-contained unit, or are you leaking energy because you're doing it for approval? And have you ever really thought about these things? Is what I'd ask you. So if you want to see what something like this looks like, get on a training with me. If you actually want to do a proper training with me where we go out and we hit it up, shoot me a DM on my Instagram and tell me that you're ready to do it, and I'll give you a call. If you're serious about it, if you're ready to do it. And if you want to see the general vibe of it and learn more right now and start doing it today, get inside Higher Purpose Program, get inside a free course. Most important thing that you could possibly do. So that's what I would leave you with is stop trying to play a game that's somebody else's game. The advice that you're getting is not going to work because you're not going to win. And the funny thing, and you see these Instagram memes where like they'll put a picture of Cristiano Ronaldo or Tom Brady as if these are like the pinnacle of being. You're not going to be Tom Brady and you're not going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. You know who you might want to look at instead of say Kobe? Derek Fisher. Some guy who had a 15-year-ish productive career in the NBA, made millions, but wasn't genetically gifted. Stop looking at people that are genetically gifted or are in freak situations where they got a bunch of venture capital because they build an app and then viewing that as the pinnacle of your life. Stop allowing them to run the frame on you. Stop being this leaking, unoriginal, uncreative person who doesn't have their own energy or thoughts. And what will happen is as you begin to build your own vibe, your own energy, your own thought, your own swagger, this is really what swagger is that we're talking about here, your own humor, your own way of moving, of walking through the world with ease. You move well. You know how to move. You know what I mean? Some people know how to move. Some people don't know how to move. Some people are leaders. Some are followers. Do you know how to move? Do you know how to live? Do you know how to do life well? Do you live in a frame that's self-contained? Look, one thing that I can tell you is usually when you've made a couple $1 million, you can't hang out with broke people as easily, but you can hang out with some broke people. You can have broke friends that you can hang out with. Here's who they are. I have broke friends that don't pedestalize me at all. And in fact, in some ways, feel bad for me because I have to work more than they do in some cases, in some instances. And so I've got broke friends who, they go to a bar and they play music. They have an icon pass and they go skiing. They love their kids and spend time with their kids. They're living their world. They're living their best life. So when I tell them, we crushed it this month with sales or something like that, they're not going to get jealous and be like a weird hater or try to scam me. But it's always the person who wants to be the rich guy or wants to be the jack guy or things like that, that if they're doing it not for themselves, but they're doing it to live up to another standard, those are the people that are going to embezzle from your company, steal from you, crap talk you, because they're not happy with themselves. They're not happy in their own lives. They're weirdos. And they're going to betray you and they're going to do weird things. And they're not able to be, the word cool? What does the word cool mean? The word cool means that you're doing the kind of stuff that we're talking about here. You own your space. You're cool. And so you're one of those cool people who's like at ease in their own reality. You do life well. You've cultivated your energy. You've cultivated your perspective. You've cultivated your humor. You've cultivated your ability to tap in. You've cultivated your ability to remove the mask, to be you, to be the best you, and to allow that to flow out so that you don't run out of things to say. And that you always have you've cultivated your social group so that you have something cool to invite people into. You go out, maybe somebody that you meet there is like super into you and just gets popping off right away. But sometimes you meet a whole bunch of people that like you a lot but aren't sure about you. Do you have anything to invite them to? If I go to your house, the way that you live is a reflection of the way your mind is. If your house is messy, probably in most cases you have a messy mind. Not always, there's always exceptions to this, but you may have a messy mind. If your house is laid out in a way where you see that it makes you feel joy and that I can come in your house and you can entertain me for 4 or 5 hours because you've sort of built things into where you live to where you're showing me your joy. And so you're hosting me and giving me an invite into your world. And now all of a sudden I'm looking up to you and I'm learning something from you. That's showing me that you have something together. But you'll see guys who've never done any of this, and they're sitting there thinking of how to go from a 6-pack to an 8-pack. Or they're sitting there thinking of how to go to 100 grand to 200 grand, thinking that that's going to make any difference at all when you go hit the venue. And from there, as far as things like attraction, you'll learn things like personal boundaries, you'll learn things like being in abundance, and you'll learn things like how to be a challenge. And these are many of the components that you build on top of that, and even a lot of different components of frame control that you build on top of this foundation that allows you to even amplify it that much more. And then it starts coming, and then it also comes out in things like your social media and so on and so forth. So find your lane, figure out who you are, and play a game that you can win. And then what you do is, instead of continually trying to get everybody else's approval, you are so swagged out inside your own frame that it passively frame controls people. Like, you're not even actively frame controlling them. It's a form of passive frame control. And what happens via that passive frame control is that other people, it's like, instead of a neg, be yourself. Being yourself is the ultimate neg. You see this? Because it's like a perma-neg. A neg just creates the reaction of like, a little bit of self-doubt and looking to you for approval for a second. But then as soon as you stop doing it, it doesn't work. Being yourself is a perma-neg, because it permanently keeps this vibe where the person starts to question themselves, say, this person lives better, I want to learn from them. Create authority in their world, find the right exact people that you connect to, be the leader within your group, be you, have your own energy, and people will be drawn in. From there, know your worth and put a price tag on it. In business, that means that you get your fair rate. In social interaction, that means that other people contribute too. In things like dating, maybe you're less likely to be in the friendship zone because people want to keep that energy around, right? People will want to be intimate with you when you are presenting something that they want to learn from, to be around, to feel, mostly to feel, to exist within. A world, both a physical reality, but more importantly, a mental reality that they want to live within. So cultivate a mental reality like a billionaire. Cultivate a frame of a guy who's super jacked. And what you'll find is that a percentage of people who truly resonate, not everybody, but the people that are meant to resonate, will really, really desperately love what it is that you bring to the table. And from there, you're going to live a far, far happier life than that person downing 300 grams a day of protein, or that person trying to get that next $1 billion. And you know what's going to wind up happening? They're going to wind up looking to you for approval. And you're also going to go out and get way, way better results than them. And this is field tested for decades. I'm not just talking. I can take you out. I can show you this in person anytime you want. And not only that, I can get you doing it too. You want to do some of this, you shoot me a DM, okay? And I'll show you in person how to do this. You'll see the results, but not just me doing it. You'll see you doing it. In the meantime, hey, I enjoy hitting the gym. I enjoy building my business, and I'll keep doing that too. And I'm going to do that to the level that it gives me joy. And that is my encouragement to you as well. Do those things to the extent that it gives you joy, but come into alignment with who you really are. I hope this helped and gave you some clarification. This is more field tested than any advice you're seeing anywhere. And if the advice you're seeing elsewhere is this field tested, this is field tested 100 times over from decades of going out and showing this result under high pressure situations, live and in person, again and again and again. So you're hearing it directly from the best source you ever could. I hope that encourages you. I hope it helps, and I hope that it gives you confidence to go out and smash it. Anyway, I'm going to go to bed right now, and tomorrow I'll be running a full 3-day event here in Los Angeles, a completely free event. Make sure that you get in there, www.selfhelpfreetour.com, and make sure that you attend one of the other ones that I do, because I'd love to actually meet you in person and work with you a little bit on this stuff and give you a little bit of feedback and show you what I'm seeing in you that you could flesh out further. So these are going to be a crazy couple of days coming up at the free event here in LA. I'm going to do the first day at a conference room downtown, and the next 2 days I'm going to actually do up in my crib. So maybe I'll even pop a couple live broadcasts if I get a chance from there. Maybe not. We'll see. Love you very much. Thanks for listening. I hope that it helped tremendously. And this has taken me years and years to stumble on top of these ideas and truly live them. And that's the difference between me at 21, 22, 23, 24, and 41, 42, 43, 44, and why my results are so much better, even as a balding, old, graybeard, ginger dwarf. You got to own it, okay? So I'll see you soon. I'm about to go to bed. Have a beautiful night. Peace.